Well, hello everyone, this is Gregory Zolfant, and let's start the SharePoint Site Owner Training. So folks, before we begin, just a couple of very brief administrative announcements. So first of all, this training session is recorded, and there will be a training video posted on my YouTube channel, and you will be able to access the URL of my YouTube channel if you follow it from the slide deck. You can also go to my website and find the link to my YouTube channel and navigate that way as well. But the bottom line is this session is recorded, and the video will be available on my YouTube channel within a few days. Also, the demo and the training we will be doing today is based off SharePoint Online. This is what I have as far as the environment is concerned. However, in case if you run older versions of SharePoint, or in case if you run SharePoint on premises, do not worry. The functionality we're going to cover today, the steps we're going to do are pretty much similar. Obviously, this year is kind of interesting for SharePoint and the whole SharePoint community, because Microsoft is making all these changes to essentially to the whole application, from a document library look and feel to SharePoint lists to the new look and feel for sites, site content pages, etc. So my screen might look a little bit different from your screen, even though we're both on SharePoint Online platform, but rest assured, everything we're going to be covered today as far as functionality is still available in your environment as well. All right. I do have a slide deck that I would be more than happy to share with you. This is the slide deck I'm presenting on the screen. You can download it at any point during the training session, during the next couple of hours or so. So if you want to download it, go under the handouts section in the control panel, and there should be a PDF document right in there. And like I said, feel free to download it. It's yours to keep, and you can do so during the next 2 hours. The slide deck contains some screenshots we're going to cover today, some information about me, but also some blog posts where I'm going to be covering lots and lots of topics today. And in case if you want to read more, some particular instructions, etc., you can reference. I do reference some URLs and some blog posts from within the slide deck, so definitely check it out. We do have a full session today. This is a very popular class, so that means that everyone is on mute. However, I do want to keep it informal, and it's all about you for the next 2 hours. I want to make sure that I answer all of your questions. So if you do have a question, just feel free to type it into the chat window, and I will do my best to answer that during the session. We will also have maybe about 5 or 10 minutes at the very end dedicated Q&A session, and I will try to address your question then. And lastly, if you do not want to ask a question during the webinar, I will be sharing my contact information at the very end, so you can just send me an email, and I'm hoping to answer your question then. Okay, let's proceed. All right, so just before we begin, for those of you who are not familiar with who I am, in case if you have not attended my previous webinars or training sessions, let me introduce myself. I'm Gregory Zolfant. I'm an independent SharePoint consultant. Have been using SharePoint for more than 10 years now. I'm a big advocate of SharePoint application, SharePoint platform. I blog a lot about SharePoint, instructions, best practices, tips and tricks. So feel free to check out my website, sharepointmaven.com. And one unique thing about me is that everything that I do for my clients when I configure SharePoint internet portals, I pretty much do out of the box. I do not utilize any custom coding. I do not utilize any third-party tools. Whenever I configure internet portals and set up SharePoint sites for my clients, I do exclusively using SharePoint native functionality. And obviously, today, we're going to be creating some sites, setting up security, creating web parts. All of the functionality we're going to be covering today is out of the box. And what I do for a living, I help organizations migrate to SharePoint, SharePoint Online these days on Office 365, and I consult organizations on best practices, tips and tricks, and obviously I do lots and lots of training. All right, you might have seen this slide before in case if you attended my other training sessions, but I just want to set the context, the scope, I guess, for today's training. So usually when you hear about SharePoint, when you talk about SharePoint and different roles, you hear about the three different distinct types of users. There are what we call end users. These are users who primarily work with content. They are the users who will upload, edit, delete documents, tasks, events. These are the users who will share content. Then the next step up would be what we call power users, or I call them site owners. These are users who are a little bit more tech savvy. They are more comfortable with SharePoint. And in addition to working with content, they can also create sites, create and add web parts, edit pages, maintain security for their team sites. We call them power users or site owners. And then the next level up, the next step up is what we call administrators. And these are usually your IT people, IT folks who manage SharePoint as a global kind of application, and they would manage whole site collections, global security and permissions, and maybe even advanced SharePoint features. Now, while I offer training for all three categories, today we are going to cover exclusively the power user site owner training. So in case if you want to kind of learn how to upload documents and share it with external users, I do offer separate training. And by the way, that video, you know, the whole 2-hour session from end user training is also posted on my YouTube channel. So definitely feel free to check it out. But today we are only going to focus on this middle section, the power user stuff. So hopefully everyone is in the right session today. All right, and there are some prerequisites. I usually don't have any prerequisites like for end user training, but for this one, my expectation is that you know at least what SharePoint is all about. My expectation is that you have been using SharePoint for a while. If you have not, then you will probably have a little bit of hard time following me. So I'm really hoping that you're familiar with SharePoint is and have been using it at least for some time. And lastly, in order for you to be able to do kind of the power user site owner kind of stuff, you really need to be in full, have a full control to your particular site. So you really need to be set up by your IT people and have appropriate privileges. If you have regular let's say contribute site privileges, you will not be able to create new sites or add web parts, et cetera, et cetera. So you really need to have full control. So in case if you go and try to do it, right after the session and try to do something what we're going to cover today, and you cannot find it or you do not have access, well, reach out to your IT. All right, so here's the agenda for today. We'll first be talking about SharePoint elements and what the basic building blocks are, and we'll then and this is going to be a little bit of a repeat, I guess, for those of you who have taken my end user training. But I figured that if we are going to be talking today about sites, pages, and web parts, it's really important that everyone is on the same page and everyone really understands what sites, pages, and web parts are all about. So we'll go over that here. And then, of course, majority of today's training will be right here. We'll actually get to create some sites. We'll set up navigation, security. We'll edit pages. We'll create some web parts. So we're going to do the power user site owner kind of stuff. And as I said at the end, we'll have dedicated Q&A session. But please, if you have a question, just type your question into the chat window. All right, let's once again refresh our memory and talk about SharePoint elements. And once again, you might be already familiar with this concept, but I want to make sure that everyone understands those three major building blocks. So let's talk about sites first. The sites in SharePoint is pretty much containers that hold information. So you might end up having documents and events, calendar of events and tasks and images and other types of content. But at the end of the day, all of this content will reside in one big container called sites. And you can have as many sites as you want in your intranet. And here's an example of my intranet, my company intranet, built in SharePoint. So where I am right now is kind of the top level site. This is my homepage, my intranet homepage. And then, as you can see here, and by the way, we will be building this global navigation. So you will learn how to build this global navigation today as well. So let me navigate to a couple of sites here. And so here I am. I landed on a different site. It's a sub-site under my home page, but it's a different site. It's a different site that holds just different types of information. In this case, I have documents and videos, and you get the idea. So let me land on a different site. This is my IT help desk site. I'm on a different site right now. And in your case, you might have different sites for different teams, different departments, different projects, however you organize things. In this case, I landed on my IT site. I really don't have any documents here. I have an IT help desk web part in here. Okay, so the bottom line, all of these different things, we just visited their sites. Let me show you another example. This is my project team site. And usually lots of organizations are using SharePoint to manage projects. And here I have several different web parts, but all of these web parts reside on one site. And the idea is that every project will have its own site. Okay, so this is the concept of sites. So let's talk about web parts now, the other building components. And so look, you might need to store different types of content, like documents or events or tasks. And you know how on your iPhone there is an app for just about everything? Same idea with SharePoint. You have an app, or we call it web part in SharePoint, that stores different types of content. For example, if you want to manage documents, there is a web part called Documents, and we'll go ahead and when we create a site, we'll create the web part. You will see how it looks, etc., etc. But I'm showing you kind of the finished product. So here is a document library that stores documents. Or if you want to manage events, there is a web part that can store events. It's called Calendar, and here is another example. I think it's definitely a little bit more attractive. Here is another example of a company calendar. So there is a web part for that. And then if you need to manage tasks, there is a web part for that. So I'll go and show you how to create all of these web parts a little bit later on. For now, I just want to make sure we all understand what the different building blocks are. So we covered sites. We covered web parts. So what are pages now? Let me explain this to you. So let's stay on this project team site. So once again, this whole thing, this whole workspace, if you will, it's a SharePoint site. And I have different web parts that I added already: documents, tasks, calendars, contact lists, and all that other discussion board, etc. And as you can see, it's a pretty busy site, busy page. I don't really have, if I wanted to stick another web part in here, I really don't have any space to put it on. Yes, I can probably put it at the bottom, but one of the best practices is to really minimize the scrolling. You really don't want your users to scroll 25 pages down to find, the web part that they need. So in this case, I have everything listed on this page, but if I run out of real estate, I can easily add an additional page. And once again, we'll cover that a little bit later. But page is nothing more than means for you to display information to the user. So, and you can have several pages, as many pages as you wish per site. And usually I don't expect that you would have too many. Maybe, one is all you need. But page is just literally means to display information to the end user. Page is not something where you will be setting up security. You will be setting up security at the site level. So page is just means for you to display information to the end user. Okay. I'm just reading some questions. Gudrun, you're asking, how can I list my own tasks from all different sites? Gudrun, this is not something we will be able to cover today. You cannot really list tasks from multiple sites, from multiple project team sites easily. You have to configure different search queries, etc. And this is not something we will be covering today. All right, folks. So let me proceed now. All right. So we covered. Hopefully that is nice and clear. Sites, pages, and web parts. Wanted to make sure that everyone is on the same page as far as this is concerned. All right. And let's see. Actually, let me show you this slide first. This is just an analogy that I'm using, and I think I already mentioned this. If you have an iPhone or a smartphone, if you think of your smartphone as kind of the SharePoint site, then all this 200 apps that you purchased from Apple Store would be your web parts. in SharePoint. And then if you purchase all these apps, obviously you're not going to fit them on the screen. On one screen, you will create different screens or different pages in SharePoint on your iPhone. So we call it pages in SharePoint. So just wanted to make sure that you you understand the concept. And on this slide, I want to show you the back to sites now, so back to those big containers of information. This is what a typical hierarchy might look like, and there are many, many ways to structure sites, and it's probably a different a topic for another training session. But you know, you always kind of start, when you provision SharePoint, you kind of always start with this home page with this starting site. You always get one site by default in your site collection. And then you can create subsites just like folders. You can create one under another. But the bottom line is you only have one top-level site. You cannot have two of them, you know, being the top level, just one per site collection. And then any sites you create underneath will automatically reside underneath, just like folders. And you can nest them just like folders, one under another. And there is a whole separate maybe discussion and session on how to structure. There are certain best practices as far as how to structure the subsites. But I wanted to explain to you, you know, I guess the typical model. You have a top-level site, you have first level and maybe a second level of subsites. But you could, nothing prevents you physically from creating additional subsites and having few levels deep, okay? All right. Okay, perfect. So now let's go ahead. We kind of, hopefully everyone is on the same page as far as sites, pages, and web parts. So let's now do some actual stuff. So I'm going to my training, on my training site, and we are going to try to create, I mean, obviously we're not going to create the whole internet, but at least, you know, we'll create some subsites and we'll create a navigation as you see here. So here is our training site. So what this is, in my case, this is my home page. This is my I guess starting point, the very top site of my intranet. Now I want to stress this. In your case, your starting point could be different. Your starting point could be different. In my case, this happens to be this site, but in your case, it's you know, whatever you have privileges to. Maybe your IT admins have already created, you know, first level of subsites, you know, for each department, and maybe the access you're going to have will be to this site, and then you will be able to create subsites under your department site. So it really depends what you have access to. In my case, this happens because I'm SharePoint admin in my environment, so I have access to this top level site. But in your case, it could be maybe you would only have admin access to one of your department sites that has already been created. So just wanted to stress that out. All right, and let me, you know what, I think we will need this slide. I think we will need to reference this slide to make sure that I stay and cover all the topics for the agenda. So let's go ahead and create a new site first. So once again, I'm on my home page. So to create a new site, here's what you will be doing. You will click the gear icon, Site Contents. And for those of you who are in SharePoint 2010, the location of buttons, might be different and all that. But for those of you who are on premises or using SharePoint Online, it's pretty much identical. So what you see, by the way, here is the new look and feel. Just maybe a month or two ago, this page looked very different for those of you who are in SharePoint Online. This is the site contents page, and they revised it somewhat, but let's just, for the purpose of what we need to do, let's just cover how to create the subsite, and if we have time, I'll give you a brief overview of what this page is all about. So we are creating a subsite, and we go to subsites, and we don't have any. I'm just showing you where the subsites that you would create would reside. So it just tells me that I didn't really create any subsites just yet. So let's go ahead and create a new subsite. And you click new button, subsite. And sites or subsites, people usually ask the question, well, what's the difference between sites and subsites? It's really the same thing. Everything in SharePoint is a site. And if you think about it, everything is a subsite, because anytime you create a site, it's a subsite of another site. So it's just a terminology thing, really means the same thing. So new subsite, and you have to kind of answer a few questions. So let's create a website for marketing department. Okay, and so we fill in the title, then we have to supply the URL. And by the way, anything that whatever you type in the title or the URL, you can change down the road. So the best practice for URL, keep it nice and short, avoid spaces, avoid capital letters, but make it something useful. Let's just make it whatever, department marketing, just nice and short. So it's at least it's obvious what the site is all about. Okay. Now, then down below, you have to choose. It's asking you, it's prompting you to select a template. Now, let me explain to you what the templates are all about. So with the screen we have right now, it shows like 4 different templates. Templates are nothing more than sites prepackaged already with some web parts. So for example, if I were to choose a team site, I think by default it has a newsfeed web part and a document library. And Microsoft decided to call it team site. If I were to choose project site, I think it will have a document library, a newsfeed, and a task web part. So it's nothing more than prepackaged, site with some web parts. You can create your own templates, and I will try to show you how to create your own templates during this seminar as well. But for now, I don't have any. So we are going to go ahead and just base it on whatever template. Now, I always kind of like to start from the fresh site, if you will. I don't really like to start my site with prepackaged web parts. So what I usually do, I usually choose team site because it has the least number of web parts, and I just wipe them out, delete them, and add my own one. So I'm going to do just that. And then the next thing, okay, this is a very important question. It's asking us, well, do we want the same security? Do we want the same security or permissions for our subsite as for the parent site? And in this case, I'm going to leave it as a default, so we're not going to worry about security. We're going to be covering security a little bit later. So for this particular site, I'm not going to worry about it. But essentially, because I'm going to leave it as is, I'm not going to be prompted for any additional questions after I create a site. Essentially, I'm telling SharePoint, my subsite, whatever my parent site, my homepage has whatever type of security and permissions it has, my subsite will have the same. And the remaining 3 questions are related to navigation, and hopefully it's pretty straightforward. So the first one is, do we want to display the site on the quick launch of the parent site? Quick launch is this thing on the left-hand side, the navigation. It's a navigation, left-hand side navigation, and it's pretty much asking us, do we want our link in here? And I usually mark it as a no because we want this link over here at the top. So let's leave it as a no. The second question is, do we want to display this site at the top link bar of the parent site? The top link bar is this top link bar right here. I call it global navigation. And I call it global because usually that is navigation that will be present on every single subsite. So yes, the answer to that question should be yes, if that's what you want. And the last question is also very important. It's about navigation inheritance. Do we want to use the top link bar from the parent side? And essentially, if you are building like an intranet, and if you recall, remember how you go from site to site and you land on another department or project team site, whatever it is, but my navigation stays the same. So the question is, do we want this navigation to be the same on all of our subsites, or in this case, in the subsite that we're creating? And I'm going to say yes, we do want to inherit it. So let's hit create. And let's see what will happen. It usually takes 5 to 10 seconds, by the way, to create a site. Here's what happened. So let's see first what happened here. So it did create a site for us, and you probably, I don't know if you noted the URL we had before. We were on this URL before. This is my top level site. my home page. This is the root of my site collection. And then remember how we specified the URL? It's right here. Okay? So it's essentially a subsite under my home page. Let's see what else happened. So first of all, it created some stuff for us already we see some stuff on the page. And remember how I have chosen this theme site template? And that's exactly what I said. It has the newsfeed and document library already embedded in our site. So pretty much it's a freebie courtesy of that template that we have chosen. If I were to choose a different template, I would get maybe a different look and feel. But don't worry, we're going to erase all this junk. We're going to remove all these web parts, and we're going to create our own. But that's exactly what I did based on the template we have chosen. Here's another thing that I did. Look at this. It added the link to our site to the top navigation bar, just like we asked it to. And it retained the navigation from the top. So if I go to the top page now, remember this is my company intranet homepage. Now I have an easy way to go to my marketing department site by clicking here, by clicking this link. So navigation stays the same now. So it did what we asked it to do. All right. Okay, so let's now talk about navigation. So we created a site. Once again, we're going to talk about security. Security is a whole separate topic. We're going to be talking about it a little bit later. But let's talk about navigation for a moment. Okay, so there are two types of navigation. There are two types of navigation in SharePoint. And let me come back here. This is my built-out intranet. There is what we call global navigation, or it's called top link bar. And there is also what's called left-hand side navigation, or quick launch. Okay, so let's go and address the navigation thing right now. Now, there are a couple of ways. There are usually many ways to achieve the same thing with SharePoint and all things Microsoft. So that is no exception here. There are a few ways to manage navigation. And let me show you, kind of start with the easiest one. And then I'll show you a couple of other techniques. So you know what? Let's go ahead and I'll show you how to do the navigation and how to build the drop-down navigation, just like it is here. All right. So in order to do that, remember, we do not manage global navigation from the subsite we just built. Remember, we're inheriting it from the home page. So if you really want to take care of the navigation, we really need to be on the home page, on the parent. And here we are. And look at this. We got this ability to edit now, links. And let me show you the easiest way to add a navigation or create a global navigation. So you just you just edit links, and you can add links, whatever you want to add. Let's just add a link to Google. All right. You can add, by the way, any link. Obviously, in your case, most of the time, I think you will be linking to your internal sites and stuff, but you can also add links to external places as well. All right, I guess we need to specify the full thing. All right. Okay, perfect. Now, if you noticed, I also had a drop-down navigation. At the end of the day, we might have a couple of departments, a few departments. We don't want really them to take all the space in our navigation bar. It's going to be very busy. So let's do a drop down. So to do that, we really need to add this departments thing first, and then we are going to add the navigation under this menu. So let me show you how to do that. So let's first create the departments link, and usually, you call it whatever you want to call. I'm going to call it departments. Now for address, I really don't want people go anywhere. I really want them to stay on the home page when they click on the department. So for address, I'm just going to do the /, which means it's pretty much will stay on the same page. So you really don't need to specify the address. Now, what you can do, I want this departments drop down next to my home button. Not a problem. Let's just drag it. Okay. And so let's click save for a second. So that's how it is at the moment. But now I want this marketing department to be under the departments over here. So let me show you how to do that. Once again, edit links. You just grab, you just press your left mouse on the entry and drag and drop. You see? okay? And you see it did it quickly. Let's save it before we lose it. But here it is. So here is my marketing department. And it stayed, and we added Google, so it's a done deal. And let me just, I'm a perfectionist, so let me just fix this. I don't want to, I mean, it's pretty clear that it is department, so I'm just going to delete the department thing and hit save. Here we go. And as we add additional sites, we'll be adding them to the navigation. All right. So this is the easiest way for you to build navigation. Now, you could also kind of go through the back door and manage this navigation through the back door. And I will explain. Let me first show you how to do that, but then I'll talk about the limitation. So if you go to site settings, and once again, we're on the parent side, on the look and feel section, there is this top link bar option, and that's exactly what this thing. And over here, as you can see, it's pretty much the same thing. You can add additional links, and you can change the order. It's not a drag and drop thing like we did before. The limitation of this, though, so you can add your links, not a problem. The limitation of this, though, is that you cannot really use this method if you want submenus, you see? Like how we did marketing under departments. You even don't see it here. So hopefully this will be fixed. I'm not sure why there is such a, I guess, a discrepancy. But if you really, have few drop-downs in place, you have to kind of do it through the drag and drop like we just did, okay? And by the way, you can build multiple levels, like under marketing, maybe there are like 3 sites. You can just drag and drop, like you see an example here. Under departments, I have HR, and then I have a couple of sites under HR. So you can really build multi-level menus if that's what you wish to do. So definitely very, you can customize it any way you wish. All right. A question from Varsha: how do we do the drop-down navigation in the classic view? I'm not sure what you mean, Varsha, by the classic view. If you have SharePoint, if you have at least SharePoint 2013 or above, or SharePoint Online, you should be able to do this. In SharePoint 2010, I don't believe you can do that. I'm pretty sure you cannot do that. But this is pretty much kind of the classic view for the moment. The sites and the whole concept of sites is changing, so there will be some changes to look and feel of the sites. You will see down the road, and we'll see how that's impacted, but yeah. All right. Question from Kathy: can I put restrictions on pages, or do I need to put those on the sites? Look, Kathy, as I mentioned earlier, if you're talking about security, you really should maintain security at the site level. Yes, you can kind of maintain security for pages, but it's not the best practice. It's not something that you should do, because usually people, if there are many workarounds for people to get to the stuff you don't want them to get, you do not want them to get to. So you should really manage permissions at the site level, and we'll cover security in a second. A question from Shelly: can you change the underlying URL that the logo goes to? I think, Shelly, you're asking the question, you are trying to change the behavior. What happens when I click on the logo? No, you cannot do that. Well, you cannot do it out of the box. I'm sure there are ways. There is a fix for everything with custom coding, but you cannot change the behavior of this logo and the URL it goes to out of the box. Okay. All right, so we're still on navigation. We just covered the global navigation. Let's talk about the left-hand side navigation. Let's now go to my marketing department site. And so we just built the global navigation. It's retained from the parent exactly what we wanted. Now, what about this left-hand side navigation? So let me first explain the difference between this navigation and this navigation. And it's up to you how you decide to configure. But the best practice really is the global navigation should be reserved for sites like major department sites or project team sites or policy and procedures, major sites you want your users to find. The left-hand side navigation usually should not be used for site navigation. It should be used, I call this navigation local or contextual. And the idea for this navigation is that it will adjust according to the site your own. For example, right now, I landed on my HR site, and here I have all the links. So you should have all the links on the left-hand side that point you to the content on this particular site. So if you want to point, if you have another sub-site, it really belongs on the top navigation. If you have maybe want to point people to the particular web part on this site, you should put it on the left-hand side of navigation. And let me explain the reason for doing that. It's kind of a best practice. Look, let's say I'm messing around with my documents, and I'm uploading documents. I'm working on my project team side. Now, if I didn't have my left-hand side navigation, and let's say I wanted to now add an event or schedule a task on my task list, well, I would need to go and do my back button and choose a different web part. Because of the left-hand side navigation, you can access either the home button or any other web part within one click. So here I am messing around with my documents, and now I want to schedule a task or schedule an event. I can just click on the calendar or tasks or any web part on this particular site. So that's essentially why the best practice is to create a navigation for only the web parts that are on this particular site. Now, another best practice is to kind of keep it nice and well organized. I cannot even tell you how many times I come into my client sites and I have 55 links in here. It looks like a flea market. I'm not even sure how people find what they need. So keep it nice and fresh. You should not really have more than a few web parts on the site anyway, so make sure it's nice and short. So anyway, let me show you once again 2 ways on how you can build links. And the easiest, once again, would be this approach by clicking Edit Links. And what you can do is you can build, usually, once again, you will be pasting URLs of a particular web part. We don't have any, so I'm not going to bother about that at the moment. So let me just display, create a link. And let's do another one. Once again, this is where you will be pasting the URL. And the beauty about this approach, or at least this quick launch thing, you can actually build, actually you can do the same here, but let me show you. You can build submenus in both edit links mode and kind of the behind the scenes mode. Let me show you what I mean by this. So let me create a sublink with particular address. What you can do is you can rearrange things, but you can also do something like this. You see? Right here. So you can build submenus just like we did here as well. So if you want, maybe you have few web parts and you want to kind of organize things, you can do so here. And usually, right, I mean, it's up to you, but usually, I mean, if you're not using a particular web part or whatever, the best practice is to kind of remove what you don't need, okay? Site contents, for example, okay? But you can do the submenus here as well. You can also manage this, manage the quick launch through behind the scenes. And let me show you how that's done. Once again, I'm clicking Site Settings and Quick Launch. Remember, we went to top link bar before. Now we go to Quick Launch. And look at this. Unlike the top link bar, remember how with the top link bar, when we were in the screen, we could only manage kind of one level of links, only the kind of the top level of links. Well, here, for whatever reason, we have flexibility to manage 2 of them, the main one and the subheading, I guess. So, and if you want to create a major, like a big heading again, a big link, you can do so from here. So let's do this. Okay. And this will build this major heading, though the big link, and then if you want a sublink, it's called navigation link. So you will be, instead of new heading, you will be choosing new navigation link, and once again you okay. And this is where you put it. Where do you want to put it under? Okay. So you can manage 2 levels in either this format, edit links, or through kind of behind the scenes. It's up to you. And here it is. And you can also change order of things, maybe, you know, push it up, etc. So you can change the order of things, but you can do so as well through just drag and drop. Okay. So once again, you can do the same thing if you wanted to change the order of things. Let's just fix this. Done. Okay. So hopefully that was nice and clear. Oh, I got a bunch of questions. Let me. Question from Naomi. I do not see edit links on my screen. Naomi, if you don't see it, it means you don't have the right permissions. If you have full control, you should be able to see the link. Okay, Linda, you're asking a very specific question about your unique situation, so I don't think I will be able to answer that, but definitely feel free to reach out to me offline. All right, well, lots of questions, great questions. How many levels, a question from Karen, how many levels deep can you go with submenu? Great question, Karen. Here, you can build as many as you wish, and I never really, and I'm not sure if there is a limit, but you have seen I'm going, you know, 1, 2, 3 levels deep. I think you can, I'm not sure if there is a hard limit, maybe there is, but obviously you do not want people to go through like 3 or 5, you know, 5 or 6, whatever, 10 levels of submenus. On the left-hand side, you can only do one sub-level. Okay, so 2 levels. All right. Okay. Question from Andrea, related question, how many levels may you go using managed metadata? Andrea, the same concept would apply. And managed metadata, what Andrea is referring to is essentially the term store. You can also build this global navigation. We're kind of building it using what's called a structured method, where we pretty much build it and hard-code it, if you will. There is also a way to manage global navigation through metadata. We're not going to go there because it's a topic for a different training session, but thank you for bringing it up. Okay. Question from Agrin, I guess, on the branding. Agrin, where we will be covering branding in a few seconds, so hopefully I will answer your question when we do so. Yeah, there are a few questions on security, and we will cover security in a few seconds. So folks, for all of those who are asking security questions, I know it's a major topic for all of you. It is for me as well. It's a big topic, and be rest assured that we will be covering that. Okay? All right, so I think we're done with navigation. So now let's proceed. Okay, so this were all the great questions. Wow, very active group today, so I appreciate all the great questions. And let's now talk about look and feel. So there were a few questions about branding. So let's brand our marketing site. That's kind of ironic. I don't think marketing will love the branding that we're going to do, because there are, there are kind of limited options as far as the branding is concerned in SharePoint environment, but at least I'll show you what's available as far as the branding is concerned. So let me show you kind of some examples. You probably have seen some colorful, some change of the color. You can do background image, etc. But let me show you what's available out of the box as far as branding is concerned. So by default, you always kind of get this white and blue site, and that's kind of a default color of the site or the template, but we really don't need to stick with this color. So let me show you what could be done as far as branding. And by the way, I think this whole section, this whole principle will change, because like I said, Microsoft is making all the different changes this year, 2016, to all the different components of SharePoint. And I know in a couple of months, a new look and feel for sites is coming out. So I'm definitely excited, and it will be exciting to see what the new look and feel and what the new capabilities are as far as ability to create sites, author sites, and brand them. So we're all waiting for that. Once again, I'm going behind the scenes, site settings, and there is this function called change the look. I could also take a shortcut, and even from this screen right here, change the look is available here. So, but let's click it. Well, we might as well just click it here. Okay. Now, I will admit, I mean, SharePoint is not like other, content management systems like external websites, like WordPress, for example, where you can really do wonders with customizations and colors and all that. Out of the box, the branding is kind of limited, but you can still do certain things to spice it up. So first of all, I actually skipped the screen, but first of all, you can choose from some of the previous, I guess, prepackaged themes, if you will, but I usually like to create kind of my own, color and see the preview and all that. So this is where what you see is what you get. I mean, there is not much choice, I will agree, but after all, SharePoint is not really meant to be an external website that needs to wow users and clients. It's an internal collaboration tool. So in my opinion, it doesn't really have to be that flashy or have all look like a Hollywood blockbuster movie. Anyway, the things you can do is you can change the color. So you can change the color. Let's change it to green. Okay, these are the different color palettes, and there is another tool that is available. I think it's a free tool. I think it's called Color Palette, where you can customize it. If these colors do not really match your brand or whatever, you can customize it further. But we're not going to cover it today. You can also change the site layout. So by default, you get this what's called the Seattle layout, which looks like this. It has the top navigation and the quick launch navigation. If I change it to Oslo, there are only two layouts at the moment. What happens is it gets rid of the top link bar, and whatever you have on the quick launch comes in here, goes on top. I don't like Oslo. There were a few reasons why they created an Oslo layout. But for your collaboration sites, you should really stay with the Seattle one, because you really do not want to remove one level of navigation. You really do not want to remove your top link bar navigation. And if you switch to Oslo, it will pretty much become impossible for you to inherit navigation throughout your site. Because essentially what happens here, it pretty much forgets about top link bar, and your quick launch becomes your top link bar. So really don't do that. Stay on Seattle. And you can also change some fonts. Once again, not too many choices, so it's really up to you, but not too many choices to choose from. But it's not like Word or Excel where you have the whole array of different fonts, but you can play around with it and experiment. You can also drop an image, and maybe this is something that would be appropriate maybe for your homepage. Right here on my homepage, I inserted an image behind the scenes. Let me show you that. All right. And yeah, here is an image of Boston, my favorite city. So, but you've seen here, I stayed on Seattle. I did the green color too. I inserted an image and I changed fonts a little bit. So, but what you see, what you get. I mean, that's pretty much it as far as branding is concerned. You can do additional branding customizations on Office 365 side of things, and also if obviously there are third-party tools, or if you have in-house developers, they can customize the themes. But out of the box, this is pretty much it. So let's hit. Well, you don't really have a save button. You have try it out button, which takes few seconds, but it generates a preview. It pretty much shows you what the site will look like before you officially make a change. Yeah, this shouldn't take long, but it does take long, so let's be patient. All right. A question from Karen. A question from, while it's loading, I have a chance to answer all the questions, which is great. Do I understand this correctly? Each site with an internet can have its own theme. Absolutely, Karen. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. And you can also, we're not going to go there during this session. If you, let's say, create a theme, a nice, whatever, you customize it, made your green or whatever, blue, red color theme, and you want to inherit the theme, you can do that as well. You cannot do it with the, I guess, with the existing setup that you have, you really need to enable some advanced features like publishing features to inherit themes across the board. But you can inherit themes in your SharePoint environment. But once again, this is not something we're going to cover today. So what I'm trying to explain is, so here's our site. And, we just changed some. I don't think we did anything other than changing the colors, so it's green now. But if I were to create another sub-site even under this site, it will still be white and blue. So if I wanted to inherit themes and propagate throughout my intranet, there are some additional advanced steps we need to do, and it's outside of the scope of this training, but I wanted just to let you know that it's possible. All right, so we just covered look and feel. Okay, let's now talk about security. There were like half of the questions I got so far were about security. So let's talk about security, very, very important topic. So for this, so we created this site. We really didn't do much on the security side. We told SharePoint, let's leave it alone. Let's not worry about security. So I'm going to create another site. And we'll go through the exercise again. At least you will get to see how to create another site. But this time, I'm going to create unique security. Now, I clicked the home button because I want to create my site under the home page on the same level as marketing. If I were to create, and this is very important, if you go and create, a new site right now, if I were to click new sub-site, it will create it under marketing department. This is not what I want. I want to create another department site, maybe called executives or something, and I want to do it under the home page. So it's all on the same level. All right. But once again, depends on your situation. If marketing wanted 5 of their own team sites, they could obviously create their sub-sites. But for the purpose of the exercise, I am creating a totally separate department site, and that's why I'm going to the home page, and that's exactly why I'm going to do it. So let's repeat the exercise, site contents. All right. And now let's click sub-sites. Look at this. Remember it was empty before. We now have a marketing site already, the one we created, but we are going to create another one right now. And once again, new sub-site. And this time we're going to create, because we worry about security, it's probably an important site, maybe for executives or something. So let's create a site for executives. Okay. And whatever the name is, and once again, whatever the naming convention is, nice and short, no spaces, no capital letters. Once again, I'm going to start with the team site. We're going to remove all of this stuff anyway. Now let's talk about permissions. So now I'm going to instruct SharePoint, I don't want the same permissions, because whoever has access to the home page, I don't want them to have access to my executive site, where all the important stuff will reside. So click Use Unique Permissions. We'll click this radio button, and we'll see what will happen a little bit later as a result of me clicking this button. For the rest of this radio buttons, I'm going to do exactly what I did before. We do not want our site in the quick launch navigation, so leave it as no. I do want to display my site just like my marketing site over here, so I'm going to say yes. And I do want to retain my global navigation, so I'm going to leave it as say yes. And let's hit create, and let's see what will happen now. Yeah. Every time I see working on it, you never know what's going to happen. Anyway, look at this now. We got this extra screen. Remember before we were done. At that point we were done. It created the site for us and we were done. We could eat lunch, drink coffee, whatever. Right now there is an extra screen that we get. And this is because we told SharePoint we want unique security. So what we see, let me explain to you what you see on the screen. It's asking us to create 3 new groups. One for visitors, one for members, and one for owners. All right? So now, you could, if let's say you already have a security group that you already had a security group called executives, you could rely on an existing group. And this is a list of my existing groups. But obviously, if you are creating a new sub-site and it's a new team, the chances are you will not have it. So by default, it's creating those 3 groups for us. And for every single group, it's helping us. It's pretty much, it creates these 3 groups, and for each group, it takes the name of the site, which was executives, and it just adds visitors, members, and owners at the end. And let me explain to you what these 3 groups are. The visitors groups are essentially your read-only people. These are your, and you can even see some help text over here. These are your read-only people. So these are users who will have read-only access to the site. They will not be able to modify anything, just read-only. Members, and you know what, in this case, we might not have any. Members are, in this case, your executives, a team who will be managing, uploading documents, downloading, assigning tasks, whatever they are doing on this particular site. They will be in members group, and they will have contribute privileges. The last group is what's called owners group. And these are, essentially site owners, users who will be managing the site, managing security, managing web parts, pages. Now, you don't have to use all these 3 groups. As a matter of fact, I mean, let's think about executives group. Most likely, all we need, executive teams, I'm sorry, most likely on the site, we only will need 2 groups. One for members, our executives, and another group for, site owners. We don't really need any visitors. Why would you want a visitors visiting the confidential executive group? However, there is no way for us out of the screen. We really need to create a group. You either have to choose an existing one or create a new one, but the bottom line is we cannot get away from it. We really have to create a group. So what we'll do, we'll create a group, we'll do what it's asking us to do, but then we'll just remove this group from the site. Okay? So the best practice is to usually create a group, even if you don't need it. Why? Because who knows, down the road, executives will change their mind and invite few regular folks into their site. And, by that time, at least you have the group already, and you don't really need to spend additional time. Okay? So let's go ahead and create the group, all 3 groups. Let's click OK. And by default, you see my name in here. It defaults to your name. Whoever's creating those groups is going to put you as a member of this particular group. Now, you really don't need, if you are, let's say, a site collection admin, and which is in my scenario, you really don't need to be in any of the groups. You have the keys to everything. So even though you see my name inside of those groups, it's kind of irrelevant because as a site collection admin, I have keys to everything in my site collection to all the sites, even if I'm not explicitly stated, listed in any of those groups. Okay, so let's see what happens. First of all, of course, it did this white and blue branding. It created a site for us, executives, an executive site. It put it on the top navigation. We'll fix the navigation portion later. Let's focus on security for now. So let's do exactly that. Question from Gudrun: if employees leave the company, would it be the best practice to set up groups? Gudrun, this has nothing to do. I mean, if people leave company, you need to really kill their Office 365 account. Whether they're in the groups or not in the groups doesn't really matter. Groups is where you will have your members in, but if your employee leaves the organization, it's more than just a group thing. You really need to do additional things at the Office 365 and disable their license and all that stuff. Remove them from AD or deactivate them, whatever. Okay. Question from Gabriel: why are members able to manage web parts? Gabriel, members should not be able to manage web parts. And I will actually, Gabriel, I apologize. I think I know what you're referring to, and we will cover it today. But you're absolutely right. And there is kind of a setting that you need to change to prevent members from tweaking and messing around with the web parts. Okay, so let's proceed now. Let's see, first of all, what's happening to, what do we have as far as security right now? So site settings. So we spent some time in this section. let's now go to site permissions and see what we have. And what do we have here? Look at this. Exactly what we asked it to do. It created those 3 groups for us: executive members, executive owners, and executive visitors. So now it's just a matter of adding people to those groups. Now, before we do that, there are a few more things you need to take care of. We really need to take care of a few additional things, and I think, Gudrun, this will answer one of your questions about members messing around with your web parts, and so I will explain that. But if you think that your part is done and your site is secure, well, think again. It's not. There are a few additional things you need to do in order to really secure your site. And let me cover that. Now, I did publish a detailed blog post. I'm going to show you most of the things you need to do as a site owner as far as security on the site. And obviously, you will have a video to reference. But I did publish a very detailed blog post. It's a 10-step checklist. So let me go to my site. Here is my website, my blog. And if you click on the security category on the left, and you scroll a little bit down, I have a blog that I have written back in March of 2016, how to set security for a SharePoint site. Make sure you go to this blog. It lists 10 steps, and we're going to do most of them today, but in case if you forget something, you want to read through this, make sure that you go to this blog and follow all the steps. Because if you really want to make sure the site is secure and no one else can access it or share it or whatever, you really need to follow all the steps. Okay? Until you do that, your site is not secure and people can get in, and I will explain that as I do the demo. But make sure to check out this blog post and follow all the instructions. But like I said, I will be showing you most of this stuff right now. Okay? All right. So let me now tell you the steps that you need to do. So the first step that you need to do is, and I think this will answer your question, Gudrun. So first thing, we need to change the setting that unfortunately Microsoft introduced in SharePoint Online and SharePoint 2013. If you notice, so visitors have read-only permission. Everything is good. Read-only means read-only. People can access the documents and tasks, and you can download them, but that's about it. You can't really do much than that, any more than that. Owner is, you are pretty much a site owner with full control. Okay? And members, these are your executives in this case. This is the users. You will be adding most users into this group right here. But look at this. Members has a permission level called edit. And to many, edit means, well, they can edit documents and they can edit tasks and calendars, so we're good. No, we're not good. In the older versions of SharePoint, prior to SharePoint 2013, users used to get a permission level. The members used to get permission level called contribute. Contribute means they can add, edit, delete documents or add, edit, delete tasks or or events, but they cannot mess around with the web parts. For whatever reason, in SharePoint Online, SharePoint 2013, and I'm not sure about SharePoint 2016, but if you're on SharePoint Online, by default, members get edit permission level. And edit permission level in SharePoint means they can edit documents and tasks, but they can also edit pages and delete your web parts. So if you go, and we're going to go through the exercise, if you create nice-looking web parts and document libraries with metadata and calendars, well, guess what? If you leave it like this, your members will wipe it out in a heartbeat, okay, if they know what they're doing. So in order to prevent that, we need to downgrade their permission level. To do that, you just click the checkbox next to the members group, click Edit User Permissions, and this gives you their current access. And as you can see, edit means can add, edit, delete lists in addition to documents. You see? So I'm not sure why this is the setting, but this is the default permission level for members group. But add, edit, and delete list means add, edit, and delete web parts, like document libraries, tasks, calendars, contact list, whatever you added. So let's fix that. I'm going to uncheck this box, and I'm going to check this box, contribute, so they can only work with the documents. So that's one of the steps. Okay, here's the second step that we need to do. So we at least fix this major loophole. And theoretically, you would think you can still go ahead and, you know, go to a members group and add your users. And let's add some users, by the way. You know what? Let's add some users. Let me show you how to do that, and then I'll explain another setting you need to fix when we do that. So let me add some users. So there are two ways you add your users. There are two ways you can add your users. I can pretty much add them like this. Okay, so you add a user and you give them the permission level. Let's do this one. Okay, let me reload the page so you can see what I did. I just added a user. Now my user has contribute privileges. What I did was absolutely wrong. Do not ever add users directly to your site. They really need to belong in the security group. And there are many, many reasons for that. I mean, obviously, maintenance and cleanup, you know, maintenance is one of them. There are many, many other reasons that I list on in my blogs. But I know it's easy to add users directly to the group, but don't do that. What I should have done was, let me remove that user. I should go inside of my group that already has certain permission level associated with it, in this case contribute, and I should add my users inside of this group. So let me repeat the step. Okay? Here we go. So all of your users, I mean, imagine if you have 25 people with different permissions level all over the place. It would be a mess for you to manage that. So, and once again, you can reference my blog post to see other reasons why you need to maintain users in the group. But this way, it's definitely nice and clean. I have 3 groups, whatever users, you know, a number of users I have in each group. Now, so we just added few users to the group. And you think you can be done. You know, you think we're done? I don't think so. Let me explain. SharePoint is all about collaboration. And Microsoft wants us to collaborate and share documents and content with the rest of folks. If we don't do anything else, if we now go to the homepage of our site and we invited a number of executives into the site, if I don't do any additional settings, any one of my executives in this group can share this site just like this with their colleagues, with their friends, and even external parties without me, the site owner, knowing about this. So if I'm logged in right now as a regular team member, a regular executive, and I'm part of the team, and and there is somebody else who is the site owner, for example. What I can do is I can invite my friends, my colleagues, even external users if you have external sharing enabled, without the site owner even aware about this. And this is on purpose. This is done on purpose because obviously SharePoint is all about collaboration. You even have the word share inside of SharePoint. It's all about SharePoint and easy collaboration. So if you want to prevent that, if you really don't want your users to easily share content, there are a few additional settings we need to take care of. So let's go back and fix it. And I do see a number of questions, so let me just finish this and I will be more than happy to answer them. So once again, back to our groups and settings. In order to prevent users from sharing the site with other users, we need to click Access Request Settings. And look what it says here. There are a few checkboxes here, all of them checked. But essentially, you need to uncheck all of them. Okay? So by default, as you have seen, by default, the users, the members, it says allow members to share the site and individual files and folders. And allow members to invite others to the site member group. Okay? So if I leave this as is, once again, everyone, if you set up your permissions and you thought you only allowed 10 people in and everything is good, and you log in a few weeks and now you have 20 people in your members group, that is because your colleagues did a little bit of sharing and invited their friends. Okay? So if it's an executive site and somebody is not careful enough, they can invite pretty much the whole organization in here. Okay? So we need, and you can kind of tweak this. Maybe you just still want the ability to share files but not the complete sites. You can do that, but usually if you want to kind of prevent sharing altogether, just uncheck it all the way. The last option right here, and this is also very important, as a site owner, if I leave this checked and users come into my site, to my URL, they somehow find out the URL of the site, and they click on it, they will get request, access denied. If I leave this checkbox in and I provide my email address, these users essentially will be able to kind of fill in the, click a button and submit a request form, access request form that will go to my email. But you know what? I'm a busy guy. I don't want to be bothered with any emails. If I did not add you to the group, it probably was on purpose. So I'm going to uncheck all of this. Okay? So now we're in much better shape. Now, it doesn't get rid of, just unchecking the boxes does not get rid of the share button. People can still click the share button and type in the users' names, whatever, but the minute they type in share, essentially they will get a red error message. Okay? All right. So let's see. Let me see. I think I got a few questions. Another question from Gudrun. Can I add a new permission level so users can add documents but not delete? Yes, Gudrun. Yes, you can. A question from AJ. Can Office 365 groups be used in SharePoint instead of creating SharePoint groups? Yes, AJ, you can do that, and it's just a matter of convenience. And if you use Office 365 groups for something else like Exchange, or you can definitely do that. So it's just a matter of convenience. Okay. And a question from Kathy. And by the way, Ajay, I did publish a blog post on Active Directory. If you go to my website and click on that security category, one of the blog posts is about using AD and Office 365 groups and pros and cons against the SharePoint groups. So yeah, you're welcome. And a question from Kathy, can I have a subsite that some people in my department cannot see the subsite at all? Yes, Kathy, you absolutely can. So what you will do is, let me show you. Let's say there is a marketing site. There is a marketing site, and you want to create a super secure marketing private site of some sort. What you will do is you will create your site. You can create it at the homepage level or the level underneath. You will set up your security. And the way it works, folks, and this is a great question, Kathy, everything in SharePoint is permission-driven. So Kathy's question was, what if my people can still discover the site or find it through search or whatever or navigate to it? Don't worry about it. Everything is permission-driven. So, for example, if I'm here on my homepage intranet, and if I, for example, do not have access, I'm a regular user, not a site collection admin. If I do not have access to accounting site or HR private site at all, I'm not part of those groups, I will not even see it in the navigation. So don't worry about if you build a navigation and you're afraid that people will find out or at least be able to see that the site exists. No, they will not even see it. Everything is permission driven. Same applies to search. If I do a search, and my search results will be different from Kathy's. So my navigation will be different from Kathy's because we have different permissions. Okay? All right. So far, so good. So let's come back. What else did we not cover? So great questions, by the way. Let me now come back to my, let's fix, by the way, while we're here, let's fix the executives. Let's put them inside of the, and by the way, you see you can put the link anywhere, but let's just drop it here, whatever, you can rearrange it. We can rearrange it, so here we go. Okay, and so what else did we want to cover as far as security? Let's come back. Oh, here's another thing. Remember, I said in the beginning, we really don't. So all the executive owners group will have site owners, which will be members in here, and usually this would be one or maybe two people who with elevated privileges. So everyone else will be in here, and then the visitors group. We really don't have anyone in the visitors group. It's empty, but you know what? We really don't need to have this group at all. So we can just click this and say remove. And it doesn't really delete the group. It removes it from the this particular site. So if I wanted to later add my group back in, you know what? Executives changed their mind and now they want to allow few for regular folks into the site, read-only access. What we can do now, because we still have a group, you just type it in. You just add it essentially, and then you can do the, let me reload the page. Okay, so here's the group backend, okay? So once again, very, very important, we went through most of the security settings, access request settings you need to take care of. If you forget any, don't worry, check out my blog post and follow the post. Question from Hannah. Are you working on Office 365? Is it the same as SharePoint 2013? SharePoint 2013 is kind of the version that is still used on premises. With SharePoint, with Office 365, there is no version of SharePoint. It's pretty much called SharePoint Online. And there are major differences. SharePoint Online, and I will show you as we get to do some of the web parts right now. I will show you what the major differences are in a few seconds. But there are definitely some look and feel changes as well. Question from Robin. I need to create a form that populates a list. Can I set up permissions such that people can fill out the form but not see the list? I'm sure that's possible. There might be ways to do it, Robin, out of the box. But I mean, in certain cases, you might need to enable maybe SharePoint Designer, and but yeah, I'm sure there is a way to do it, but definitely not probably an easy way to do it out of the box. Gudrun, you're asking a question, how you change permissions on the links? You don't change permission on the links. The links are just links. They're pointers to your to whatever site or web part. You can alter permissions at the site level or web part level, or folder or whatever it is, but you really would not be modifying permissions on the links. Another question from Melissa, if permissions are removed, are the users notified? No, they're not. No, they're not. When you add users, they are notified. And well, if you leave this checkbox, so by default, if you add few users, they will be notified if you leave this checkbox in, but not when they are removed. Question from Salvador, can you create other permission levels? And how? I answered this question, yes, you can. I'm not going to be able to explain how. This is out of the scope of this training session, but feel free to check out other training sessions on my site, and we'll be more than happy to assist you with that request. Thank you. All right, so we just covered this. This was the big one, security. So let's talk about pages and web parts. And I think we're doing okay on time. So let's come back to our executive site. Let's add some web parts. folks. So let's add some web parts for our executives to do what they need to do in here. So to create a new web part, so it's a two-step process, by the way, or maybe even a three-step process, depending on how you look at things. First, in order to create a web part, first we are going to create it, because by default, the apps exist, but you really need, or web parts exist, but you really need to add them to your site. So we're going to do that first. Step number 2, we're going to add them to this page. So it's displayed over here. And step number 3, we are going to add a navigation link on the left-hand side, because after all, we don't want our executives to be pissed off at us and tell us they cannot find stuff. We want nice and easy layout. So let's take care of the step 1 first. Site contents. We're going to create a new web part right now. And this is the same screen where it shows, where we were creating subsites from. So we obviously don't have any, but it shows you what it has as far as some of the existing web parts. But I really don't like to start with any of the existing web parts. I'm going to create my own web parts. And there is a document library. Remember, you saw a document library on my site, and maybe you're wondering, why can't we use this document library if we already have one? Well, there are a few reasons, and once again, I'm not going to have enough time to explain, but I have a blog post on why you should never use a default document library. And the name usually is one of them, like it has a certain name and URL. If you want something specific, you should really create your own. It's really free, so go ahead and create your own web part. And the bottom line is there is this and other reasons why you should never use document library, the default document library. So let's create our own one. Site contents. And the screen would look a little bit different, of course, for those of you who are on SharePoint 2013 or older versions of SharePoint. This is SharePoint Online, and this is the user experience that you get with it. Okay, and then new list. So it actually tells you about the document library. It even, because it's such a popular thing, you can even click here. But if you really want to see all of the web parts and apps available in the universe, you can click here, New App. And this is where it shows all the web parts that you can add out of the box. All these blue boxes over here, icons, they are what's called out-of-the-box web parts. And these are the web parts developed by Microsoft. They have been in SharePoint forever. So very, very stable, very written by Microsoft, extremely stable, great web parts to use. And it's very likely you will pretty much, depending on the type of content you have, whether it's a document or maybe you want to manage tasks, you want to manage contacts, announcements, links, discussion board, even pictures. There is a web part for anything you need. I did mention it during my SharePoint beginner training session. There is also this thing called SharePoint Store. And I'm kind of an out-of-the-box kind of guy, but if you're into adventure, you can definitely check out third-party web parts. Some of them are free, some of them are not. But really, if you at least starting initially with SharePoint, I do recommend that you first exhaust the functionality available to you out of the box, because most likely it will satisfy the needs that you have. All right, so let's add the document library. And it's pretty straightforward. You can call it whatever you want. I mean, there are certain best practices, usually, no spaces, no whatever capital letters or whatever it is, but let's not worry about it for the moment. By the way, you can change the title later. Okay, so here's the document library that we created. But look at this. So, first of all, what you see, let me explain to you what you see on the screen. This is the new look and feel of the document library. For those of you who are on older versions of SharePoint, your document library probably looks like something like this, where, this is the look and feel you get with the older version of SharePoint. So it definitely looks a little bit different. This looks more like OneDrive. And we're going to be creating metadata and creating views and columns in a few minutes, but for now, let's just add web parts. So I just created team documents. Let's create some more web parts, and then we'll do the other steps. So let's just create some additional web parts. And in the, because it's executives, we are going to probably, they will need a calendar. Okay, where is my calendar? Right here. Okay, and you can call it whatever you want. Just calendar is fine, but I like to call it what it is. And let's add a task list or issues log. Let's add another one. Issue tracking. There is a task list as well, but we're going to do the issue tracking. And once again, yeah, not exact issues log. I mean, it sounds a little weird. All right, perfect. So here are the web parts we just added, all three of them. Let's come back to the home page now. Okay, sorry, I'm just reading some questions. Darius, you're asking a question about employee web part. I'm not going to be able to cover this. It's out of scope of today's training session, but I do have a blog post on about this. So if you go to my blog, my SharePoint blog, and click on employee directory, I do have a couple of blogs on how to create an employee directory and how to set it up and all that stuff. So feel free to check it out. Okay, so now look at this. We created the web parts, but where are they? Well, because they're not here on our page because we did not really add them to the page. We are still done. We are done with step number 1, where we created our web parts, but we did not tell SharePoint to put them on the page just yet. Remember, page is nothing more than means to display information. So let's go ahead and clean this page up and add our web parts on here. So to do that, you can click Edit to edit the page, or you can click here, doesn't really matter. Edit. And the first thing I like to do is I like to start with a fresh kind of white page. So I'm going to remove all the junk that was added to me because I have chosen this template. So I'm just going to remove, make it nice and clean. And once again, this is the default document library. Let's delete it. And it's not, I'm not deleting, very critical to understand, I'm not deleting the web parts. I'm removing them from the page. It's kind of, just want to make sure you understand this. Maybe it's not clear. Even if like when I click delete documents right now, I did not delete my default document library from the site. It's still there. I just removed it from the page. So don't be rest assured if you delete your web parts this way, they're not actually deleted, they are removed from the page. And first of all, you can change the layout of the page, whatever it is. You can make it maybe 3-column with a header. Let's do that. Right now we have 2 columns. So here they are. And then, usually, right, you can type in some text. It's not just about web parts. So let's type in some text, executive site. And you can change some format, make it look, stand out, whatever. All right, let's not worry about it. And then you can insert your web parts. To insert a web part, it's pretty straightforward. You click Insert. Well, first you put the cursor where you want to insert the web part. Then you click Insert, and we're going to click Web Part over here. And this will give you a list of all the web parts. There are many other additional categories and other apps and web parts you can use. Once again, this is not a topic for today's discussion. You can experiment down the road, but let's just add a couple of web parts that we have created. So the first one was Team Documents. The second one, and I'm going to take advantage of my 3 columns, my real estate, so it looks nice. I'm going to add a calendar. And I'm going to add issues log in here. All right. All right, let's save it before we lose it. So here we go. We are done with step number 2. And by the way, you can rearrange the look and feel. Once again, page is just nothing. You can change whatever you want. And, maybe, what, I don't like this format anymore. Let's do this one now. You can even drag and drop, just grab it and drag and drop things. So it's pretty easy, relatively easy to use. You don't have all the graphic, I guess, capabilities once again, all the fonts you have in Word or Excel or other applications, but look, at SharePoint is not meant for that. Okay, so here we go. We completed step number 2. Question from AJ, will I be able to watch your webinar at your YouTube channel? Yes, you will, AJ. The video, as I mentioned in the beginning of the webinar, this session is recorded. The video will be posted on my YouTube channel in the next few days, and I will provide the URL for my YouTube channel in the slide deck at the end of this session. All right, so we just completed 2 out of 3 steps. We created the web parts, we added them to the page. We now need to complete the last step, which is we need to clean up this navigation menu. Right now, it's kind of the out-of-the-box one, the default. It throws a few things at us, which we really don't want in here. And also, anytime you add a new web part, that puts it under this recent thing, which I really don't like. Okay, so let's add a couple of links. I'm not going to go crazy here because of time constraints, but let's say I want to add a link to documents. So let me just grab the URL of the existing. And you know what? Actually, we don't even need to do that. You know what we could do? Let's do this. Let's just do this. You can build your own links, but we don't have time for this. So let's fix this, and we will be done. So you see, it's nice and easy. You see what I'm doing? I'm just dragging and dropping things. And you don't want people, usually recent, you don't need that anymore. You don't need people to go to the document library, the default one. And what I absolutely hate, there is no reason why your regular users, especially executives, need to go to site content. So let me remove that. And you can change it, right? I mean, you can maybe make it nice and, capital letters, whatever. Notebook is there by default. Every site you create in SharePoint 2013, SharePoint Online or above, you have a notebook that's created. So it's pretty much your OneNote application. So usually, it doesn't hurt to leave it in case people need to keep notes, whatever, informal notes and stuff like that. So it's definitely becoming more popular. All right. Okay, so we just completed pretty much all the steps you would do. So this is how you create your web parts, and this is how you add them to the page. So right now, our site is kind of coming together. We set up security, we added the web parts, we cleaned up navigation. Now, what else? It's not the case in this particular example, but obviously, if I wanted to, have another page or something for, I run out of real estate, I could then add another page, and it's literally another page. So let me just do this. So what it does, it's still, I named it second page. We're still on executive site, you see? We're still on executive site, and I still see my navigation menu from executive site, but this is the second page. So if you do create different pages where you can put your new web part, make sure to obviously link it from the quick launch or something, but let's not worry about it. Okay. All right. So we just covered pretty much all of this. Let's talk about metadata and custom views. Okay. So let's go to our team document library. And by the way, so by default, it's going to be a folder-based library, which means that you can organize your files just by using files and folders. So obviously, you can do this, and I don't know, create whatever you want, create folder, and dump your documents in there. But what I want to show you now is something, how to create your own custom metadata. I trust that you know how to navigate around folders. I'm pretty sure you're comfortable with this, and I'm not going to explain this to you. But let's right now create some metadata. So that's essentially what we're going to do for the remainder of this session. And let me delete this folder, since we're going to do metadata. It's usually one or another. I really don't like to use folders and metadata together. It doesn't make sense to me, but it's your call. Let's now create the metadata. Now, everything we're going to do now is what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go behind the scenes library settings and show you how to do this. The experience is the same in both the new look and feel, which is what this is. This is the new look and feel of the library, document library, and the old look and feel. So I'm going to show you, let me show you how to navigate to library settings from the new look and feel, and I'm going to do the same from the old look and feel. So at least you get the idea how to navigate to library settings, but the remainder, everything else is the same, okay? So let me go to library settings of this library. So I'm going behind the scenes, library settings. So here I am. I'm behind the scenes. I'm setting up. This is where I'm going to do all the different library settings and metadata for my document library. And let me before I do that, let me just show you how you will access library settings in the old style document library. So if your document library looks like this, let me explain to you what you will need to do. So you navigate to the library setting, to the library, and then library tab, and then library settings. So you see, you don't have the library settings in here, like with the new document library, the library settings is right here. And the rest is absolutely the same. So we go to the same screen. So the rest is absolutely the same. So I'm not going to, let me go back to my new experience. So once again, here are my team documents. And I'm going to explain to you how to create custom metadata here. Okay? Once again, sorry, not site settings, library settings. And here we are. This is kind of the control panel, if you will, for my document library. The first thing I want to always ensure, especially with metadata, that versioning is on. And usually in SharePoint Online it is. In SharePoint Online, that's the beauty. You really don't care about, because storage is so cheap, you really don't need to worry about versioning. For those of you who are on premises, you really need to enable versioning, and you just do it by clicking this radio button. But for those of us online, don't worry about it, but you can always go and just make sure, but it should be enabled. Before we create metadata and custom columns, another thing I like to do is this. Go to advanced settings, and let me see, down the bottom, when I create metadata, I really don't want people to use folders. So what I usually do is I disable the new folder button right here. So towards the middle, if you use metadata, make sure you disable. It's kind of a good business practice, best practice, because otherwise if you worked hard to create your metadata, well, guess what? John Smith will go ahead and create a folder. So let's prevent that. All right. Okay. And then let me just show you what that did. So now if I hit new, the folder option is not there. Okay. All right. Let's continue. Library settings. So obviously the whole thing about metadata, and I do for other classes on metadata, and there are so many ways to set up metadata. We're not going to be able to cover all of them here. But let me show you at least the basic principles. To create your metadata, to create your custom columns, you just hit create a column button. And by the way, you already have some metadata by kind of out of the box. You have some metadata out of the box already. And you can really erase all of it or delete any of it. These are pretty much your system or timestamps, etc. So you do have some already. But let's go ahead and create our own. So you hit create column thing. And let's create a column. It's going to be a document type. Let's just do document type. And let's do, because it's a document type, it's going to be a drop-down list. This is the type of column we're creating, but it could be multiple lines of text, currency, date, whatever, people picker. But in this case, let's do a choice field. And this is where we specify our drop-down choices. Let's just do a few. And whatever order you put them in here, that's how it will appear to the users. Okay. All right. And we can require the column to be essentially make it required. Yeah, I guess we can check that, but let's not worry about it for now. And then you can do either drop-down radio button, or if I want multiple choice, I could say checkboxes and essentially allow multiple selection. But you know what? If I'm uploading agenda, it's very unlikely it's going to be SOW at the same time. So let's leave it as that. You can default to a particular choice, but you know what? We don't want to do that. Let's not default to any of them. So we are prompting the user to choose it. And then by default, you see this, there is a checkbox checked. By default, it's going to add the column to the view, the default view, which is our default all documents view. And, you know, absolutely, I think it's a great idea. So let's leave it as that. Okay, and let's add another column. Let's add another column while we're here. And I'm going to say doc owner or something. All right, in this case, it's going to be a people picker. And once again, by default, it just tells you, do you want to choose people or people in groups? I mean, you know what? I want actual people. And let's just leave everything as is. Click OK. So here we are. Our two custom columns created. Let's go ahead and see what we have on the document library level. Well, we don't have any documents, but as you can see, it added our columns. Remember, we left that checkbox on, so it added few documents. It added few, you know, those columns to the view, to this default view, which is called all documents. So let's go ahead and upload the document. And by the way, there are a few ways to upload the document. We could upload a file, this one. Okay, and let's now drag and drop files. Let's just, if you have multiple files, let's drag and drop. Okay, now, because we really didn't make the column required, I mean, it didn't really prompt us for metadata. But now, as you can see, my metadata is blank. My metadata is blank. So how do we fix it? Well, there are a couple of ways to fix it. So let's go ahead and tag documents first. Okay, and if I want to tag one at a time, I can just go in. I clicked on the checkbox, and there is this information panel on the right. And by the way, for those of you who are in older versions of SharePoint, I mean, this menu will look differently. You will get a pop-up prompting you, to fill out metadata. Here, it appears as an information panel on the right-hand side. So here is where I'm going to tag my documents. And let's tag it. Okay. All right, let's hit save. Okay, so here we go. My documents are tagged, but you know what? Let's do the rest. I don't have time to tag the rest of the documents. So I'm going to bulk edit them. And to do that, I'm going to click this quick edit command. And I'm going to tag the rest of the documents like this. All right, and you know what? Let me just change a few things. And so what you can do is, if there are certain documents that, let's say you uploaded a bunch of agendas or they belong to the same owner, what you can do is just do this. Drag and drop, you see? Let's drag this one. Drag and drop. So I just uploaded and tagged a bunch of documents in a matter of seconds. Now, so here I am. We just created metadata. We're good now. Metadata, you know what? All we have is this kind of one lonely view. The whole idea of metadata was to really, for us to organize things differently and instead of folders. So let's create some of our custom views. Now, with the new version of SharePoint, the new look and feel, I should say, of the new document library, you can actually create show and hide columns kind of on the fly and rearrange them over here. And you can even group things, like you see, if I wanted to quickly group things or filter by this property, I can easily do this, you see? But because I'm a site admin, I really don't like to do that. I really like to go behind the scenes because I would like, this gives you a quick way to create views and stuff, but I really like to have full control and more flexibility. So I'm not going to worry about it. And I'm going to create my views as a true site admin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go behind the scenes now, and you can either click Manage Views, or if you are at the library level, and you click on, and you scroll all the way down, this is where we created our columns, you can create your views over here. Same thing. Okay? So now we have to create a view, and usually you can pretty much start from scratch, but you know what? If you already have a view, why don't take advantage of it? So I usually like to start from the existing view, the view that already has all my columns. And you know what? The view we're creating now is, let's group it by document type. So we are going to call it view by document type, okay? And we can, by the way, make a default view, but let's not worry about it for the moment. Now, because you're going to be a site admin, you can either create a view for yourself or you can create it for everyone else. I hope you're a kind individual and you're going to create a view for everyone. And then here, this is where we specify the columns. And this is what I was talking about, the flexibility I like to have. Let's do this. We do not want to create to display document type because we're going to group by it. And let's also display file size. And let's maybe display the version, whatever. And let's also change the order of the things. So let's make it number 3, number 4. And you know what? I don't care about who modified by. I mean, I already have it in a different view, so let's not worry about it. Okay? I unchecked it. This is where you can sort and filter things. Once again, you can sort it by maybe created date or any other property, but once again, this is not what we're trying to do. You can also filter for things, very convenient. If you have a large list and you only want to create a custom view to show all agendas or something, you can say, document type is equal to agenda, okay? But let's not worry about it here. Let's group it like we want it to be. Let's group it. And we are going to group it by document type, okay? There are 2 levels of groupings, and unfortunately, at the moment, the 2 levels of groupings do not work with the new document library look and feel. So it only works with the classic look and feel or older versions of SharePoint. So you can theoretically group by, let's say, document type and then by group owner or whatever, but unfortunately, we can't do it at the moment. So let's just stay with a single level, and let's click OK and see what happens. Okay, here we go. It did it. All right. So we just created a view. And, once again, if you are more, this is, they added this plus. You can actually create your columns on the fly, and you can even show and hide some columns as well. But you know what? Like I said, just make sure if you do that, make sure to hit the save view, because otherwise it's only for the duration of the session. So if you really want the view to be saved and used by everyone, you should really go behind the scenes and kind of create your view that way. All right. Let me just create another view very quickly, and then I think we're running out of time, so I'm going to answer all the questions we got. So let's create another view. We are going to now once again start with this view by owner. All right, view by owner. And then once again, same thing. We're not going to display the owner. Let's not worry about the order of things. And let's just come here, group by. And this is where metadata shines, is you can really display it any way you want, where I'm not stuck to the folder structure that somebody created. It's really, very, customizable. So here are our team documents. Let me just reload the page. This is my all documents view, and I can, by the way, filter and say, you know what, I only want to filter all agendas or something. I only have one. Or I could say, you know what, I'm in the mood to view everything by document type, or I'm in the mood to view everything by owner. So you get the idea. This is where metadata really shines. Okay, we did this. We did create custom metadata. We created custom views. I think we have a few minutes left. And let me see what we have as far as the questions. So before I do that, let me just mention what else I have on the slide deck for you, and then we'll go to Q&A. So for those of you, and once again, if you didn't do it already, you still have a few minutes left, please go and download my handbook, the slide deck from the handout section, and it does have essentially my contact information, but it also has this slide where I list some of the blog posts. If you if you really want step-by-step instructions, I know there was a question on how to create an employee directory on org chart, or how to set security for the site. I have provided the URLs to my blog posts here. You can also obviously go to my site and just search for information there. But really encourage you to check out those blog posts, read them, and use this and just experiment on your own with SharePoint. I also offer SharePoint webinars in addition to training sessions, and the next one is in October. And then I have a full schedule available on my site, on my website. The two new webinars I have added to the list are the Project Online webinar and Office 365 Groups webinar with a catchy name. So if you want to, if you really want to register and attend those sessions, just click Learn More button or go to webinar menu option on my site and register for future sessions. And here is my contact information. Once again, this video will be posted on my YouTube channel, so please visit my YouTube channel. I do have the end user training session, the 2-hour end user session, posted on my YouTube channel already. This session will be posted on my YouTube channel as well, and here is my URL. And at this point, I know this was a long 2-hour session. I want to see what we have as far as questions, and I have a pretty long list. Question from Andrea. When I was adding the columns on my SharePoint site, was it a library or a list column, or was it a site column? It was a list and library column, Andrea. I was creating a column locally at this particular library. You can also, what Andrea is pointing out is that you can also create your columns at the site level, and this way you can use and reuse the same column over and over again. But that's absolutely best practice if that's the case, in your organization. So, but in my case, I created it locally. Okay, thank you. I guess a couple of people asking if I have a session dedicated towards administrators. Yes, I do. You can register and pay for it, AJ, online. Just visit my website, and I do offer administrative training as well. And just got a few thank yous from people. So thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed the session. Question to Andrea, from Andrea, can I distribute the slides and my blog posts to other folks in my organization? Absolutely, Andrea. I mean, if I didn't, I wouldn't be posting those sites. Feel free to distribute the slide deck on my sites or my blog posts. Question from Gudrun, can I have special permission in the individual documents or in the library? Yes, you can. You can set up permissions at the document level or folder level or even a web part level. This is not considered the best practice. That's why I did not cover it, but yes, you can do that. Okay. All right, let's see. I have a few more questions. Question from Jason, how did I create filters on the left-hand side? I think, Jason, what you are referring to is this filter. If you go to my website, let me show you where it is, Jason. If you go to my blog and click navigation, there will be a URL right here. Search for documents using metadata navigation. This filters on the left, they are called metadata navigation in SharePoint. So if you go to the site, it explains you, to this post, it explains step by step how to do that. So, question from Kelly, is it a good practice to post PDF documents to SharePoint instead of regular documents? Kelly, I mean, yeah, SharePoint is, I mean, you post all sorts of documents. I mean, it's really up to you what you post there. I mean, there are obviously certain file types that are restricted, but you can post PDFs, Word, Excel, whatever you choose. Question from Robin. With a couple of our site collections, we manage security with folders. If we restructure our sites to use metadata instead of folders, can we apply security to that metadata? No, Robin, you do not apply security. Metadata is just means for you to display information. It's not means for you to set security. You cannot really, out of the box at least, set up security on metadata, and it's really clunky if you have to code the things and stuff. I definitely do not recommend you do that. The best practice is to set up security at the site level. Once you get down to the folder level or individual document level, I mean, look, it's very realistic. You will have, thousands and thousands of folders. If you maintain your security at the site level, Robin, look, you know what the sites are in your repository, right? You know what all the sites are, department sites and whatever. It's challenging enough to keep track of security of all the individual sites. Sorry, wrong button. Right here. It's challenging enough to keep track of all the department sites you already have, and I only have a few. You will most likely have 60, hundreds of sites. If you now break down permissions by folders and document libraries, I guess it's a full-time, it's a job security for you, Robin, but it's not really practical to maintain security at the folder level. There are unique situations, of course, don't get me wrong. It's a great question, by the way. There are unique situations where you might maintain security at the folder level for particular folders or whatever, and I've done it by myself, but really it should be an exception than the rule, okay? All right, let me see. We have a few minutes left. I know it was a long session, so I will stick around for another minute or two. I want to see if there are any other questions from the audience. Okay, I guess, AJ, you're asking how do I register for the admin course. Let me show you, AJ. Once again, you're on my site. If you go to courses under training, and these are all the courses. And each course, if you're looking for admin kind of stuff, this is usually these 4 courses over here. And each course it tells you what it is all about. All my courses are 2-hour sessions. And you can pretty much contact me and pay for most of the courses online, and then we'll go ahead and schedule it. Thank you, Regina. Thank you. I'm glad you were able to join. I know it's too late for you in Norway, so thank you for joining. All right. Question about SharePoint groups versus AD groups, which is preferred method. Look, at the end of the day, it's really up to an organization to decide. If you usually AD groups, and I have a blog post. If you go to the security section of my site, I have a dedicated blog post about AD groups. If you have a department site, usually you can utilize AD groups, because if I'm part of finance or HR, I'm usually part of a particular department, and usually AD groups are a great way to maintain security. If you are doing projects and you have a number of different projects and different project team sites, you really don't want to use AD groups, because project teams always change, and people want flexibility with inviting other folks, etc. If you're using AD groups for project teams, you will be kind of maintaining security full time. So really up to you. I kind of like SharePoint, flexibility of SharePoint groups, and there are many other reasons that I list on my blog post. All right, folks, we are out of time. We're at the top of the hour. So thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate all the great questions. I appreciate your attendance, and hope you have a wonderful weekend. And thank you very much for your attendance, and hope to see you in my future training sessions. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Goodbye.